You have a $100,000 idea sitting in your head. You can picture the whole company, you can see the 5-year plan, the product launch, the interview where someone finally asks how you did it. But right now, tonight, there is one email sitting in your inbox. It is 3 sentences long. You have read it 4 times. You still have not answered it. The real answer for why is far stranger than laziness. Your brain was never built to reward small things. It was built to reward big ones. Somewhere in your skull, a tiny cluster of neurons is deciding, right now, what is worth your effort and what is not. And it is not deciding based on importance. It is deciding based on size. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky spent years studying dopamine, the chemical most people think of as a pleasure signal. It is not. Dopamine is a signal about anticipation. It fires hardest not when you get a reward, but when you are chasing one that feels big, uncertain, and far away. A vague, glittering future spikes it. A 3-line email does not. That is the trap. The bigger and blurrier the goal, the more your brain lights up for it. The smaller and clearer the task, the less it seems to care. So the business plan feels electric. The email feels like nothing. Not because it matters less, because your dopamine system was never designed to read task lists. It was designed to chase movement on the horizon. Think about what that horizon used to be. For nearly all of human history, there was no inbox. There was no filing system, no monthly report, no line of small obligations waiting in a queue. There was mostly one job: find enough food to survive the day. Anthropologist Hillard Kaplan spent decades studying hunter-gatherer communities, tracking exactly how people like the Ache and the Hadza spent their hours. What he found was strange. Their days were not full of scattered small chores. They were built around a small number of high-stakes efforts: a hunt, a long trek to find fruiting trees, a shared kill, carried back and divided among dozens of people who were depending on it. Everything hinged on those few big pushes. Miss the hunt, and the tribe eats less. Succeed, and you are fed, respected, remembered. There was no reward for quietly organizing your tools on a Tuesday afternoon. There was no applause for replying to a message. Your ancestors' brains were shaped generation after generation to treat big, visible, high-stakes effort as the only effort worth firing up for. Now picture that same brain dropped into your life today. Your world is not built around one hunt a week. It is built around hundreds of small hunts a day. Pay this bill, book this appointment, send this file, answer this text. None of them are dangerous. None of them will feed a tribe. And your ancient reward system, the one still running the show underneath your modern ambitions, barely registers them as worth doing at all. This is where things start to feel unfair, because you are not lazy. You are, if anything, overqualified for effort. You have built things. You have pushed through real difficulty before. So why does replying to one message feel heavier than climbing a mountain of ambition ever did? Psychologist Piers Steele has spent his career studying exactly this gap, what he calls the difference between what we intend to do and what we actually do. His research on procrastination found something counterintuitive. People do not avoid tasks because they are hard. They avoid tasks because they are low in what he calls expectancy and value, meaning the task feels uncertain to succeed at and unrewarding even if it is finished. A small task rarely offers either. There is no visible win. There is no dramatic outcome. Just a quiet checkmark that nobody will ever see. Compare that to the big vision in your head, the company, the book, the dream version of your life. That has both. It feels achievable in your imagination, and it feels enormous in reward. Of course your brain runs toward it. Of course it stalls in front of a form that needs filling out. Here is the twist most people never hear. The ambition is not the problem. The ambition is the disguise. You'd tell yourself you are the big picture type.
The one who thinks in decades, not to-do lists. It feels almost noble, but underneath that story is a much older, much simpler wiring fault. Your brain is not choosing the big vision because it is more mature. It is choosing it because it is more stimulating. The small task was never beneath you. It was just invisible to a reward system still calibrated for a hunt. And this is where it gets stranger still. The small tasks are not separate from the big vision. They are the actual material it is built from. No hunt ever happened without someone first checking the spear, first tracking a print in the mud, first doing the unglamorous work that made the big moment possible. Your ancestors did not skip the boring parts. They simply did not experience them as boring because their whole system of survival ran on urgency, not on excitement. You do not have that urgency. Nothing in your body believes the email is a threat. Nothing in your nervous system believes the form you are avoiding could end you if ignored. So the ancient alarm system that once forced your ancestors through tedious, necessary preparation stays silent. And without that alarm, all you are left with is a dopamine system whispering, faintly, that this task is not worth waking up for. So what do you do with a brain built for hunts, trapped inside a life built from forms? You stop waiting to feel the size of the task. You shrink it instead. Kaplan's hunter-gatherers did not think about feeding the tribe for the next 30 years. They thought about the next hunt, one trip, one outcome. Your brain still responds to that scale, not the 5-year plan, the next 15 minutes, not the whole inbox, the next line. You can also borrow the other half of what made those old efforts feel worth doing: witness. A hunt was never done alone in silence. It was done in front of people who would know if you tried. Steele's research on procrastination found that accountability, someone else simply knowing your task exists, raises the odds you finish it, even when nothing else about the task changes. Tell someone what you are about to do. Let the task exist outside your own head. Suddenly, it has a small piece of what the hunt always had: eyes on it. None of this means you're broken. It means you are running very old software on a very new machine. The ambition that keeps you up at night is not a flaw. It is the same drive that once sent people across unmapped land in search of food. But that drive was never meant to power a Tuesday afternoon. It was meant for the horizon. So tonight, when you sit back down in front of that email, notice what is actually happening. It is not weakness. It is not a character defect. It is a hunter's brain, staring at a task with no blood, no urgency, no tribe watching, and quietly deciding it is not worth the chase. Answer it anyway. Not because it feels big, because somewhere behind every empire, every invention, every idea you have ever admired, there was a person who once sat in front of something small, something forgettable, something that offered no dopamine at all, and did it anyway. That is not the opposite of ambition. It is where ambition actually lives. You still have that $100,000 idea sitting in your head. It is still waiting for you. But it turns out the real answer was never about becoming someone bigger. It was about learning to hunt the small things too.